Hi everyone. All right, I'll give you a quick run through the greenhouse over here. I've looked for ways to insulate greenhouses over the years, and this is probably the best solution I found thus far. This over here is a standard greenhouse. It's 10 feet by 8 feet, and what I've done is I've used a 6 millimeter hoop house plastic that I purchased on Amazon from a supplier in the US. It's very good plastic. And this greenhouse is on a wooden base. So these are essentially fence posts. These are 6x6 large boards. So everything's bolted and anchored to that. And what I did is I wrapped it with the hoop house wrap. And again, a 6 mil wrap, so it's very thick. And I left enough space that it forms these air pockets, because air is the best insulating material you can get, or at least air allows a pocket, so it's generally better than it, for insulating it. Now, one of the things over here that I did have a problem with is the back of it. I'll show you right here. I had to tape it over here, but essentially what I've done is I've used Torx screws with washers. I'll move a little bit of the snow away so you can see it. Let me find one over here. So there's one right there. So these are basically washers and Torx screws. I measured everything out. I incrementally drilled in the washer and the Torx screw. So I didn't try and do everything all at once. I did one side at a time and folded it over, measured, adjusted. And then any excess, what I did was I wrapped it in over here so that it was all nice, clean, and tidy. We have some leftover insects. So in the spring, once it gets nice, I'll take those out. Also, what I've done is I've just put a carabiner here to hold the door shut. In high wind events, you can have it where this could potentially open up. We don't want that to happen. And what I've also done is I've used a standard draft liner for a door. Something you'd use on a door or window, available at a hardware store. I'll open it up so you guys see. So this is the draft liner over here. And this is the greenhouse. We have some geraniums here that I need to take care of, and we have tomatoes in the back. Some more geraniums. Again, they're doing fine. It's a little tight in here at the moment. And then we have some kale growing over here. And what I've done in the back corner, unfortunately, our pepper plants here aren't doing too well. They're on the way out. But forgive the mess over here on the barrel. This is the rain barrel. This container over here was a watering can, but I use it for diesel fuel. This heater over here is what does the bulk of the heavy lifting as far as heating goes. This is a 240 volt 4800 watt heater. So I've run this on a line from the house. We also have some other wires here coming in. So this is on its own line. This was a 3-prong plug, but I modified it to use a 14 twist lock plug. So that's what's standard here in North America. So you have 2 hots, a ground, and a neutral. Anyway, great heater. It's automatically controlled. And I also have an alarm. So one of these is a thermistor, which will send an alarm inside if the temperature in here drops too much. The other one is an EcoWit unit, which sends data to the internet so I can remotely monitor the temperature and humidity in here. And one of the things I've added in is a dehumidifier. Don't mind all these leaves that come in and I pick it up. These are just dead from the bottom of the tomato plant. This dehumidifier over here just drains into the ground. And I've always found it's better to run with humidity being a little on the low side than too hot or too high. If the humidity is too high, you'll get into fungal issues, etc., etc. And because I have so many tomatoes, we don't want fungal issues. You can see lots of cherry tomatoes there, and we've got much larger tomatoes over there, and we have some dead leaves here that I'll peel off. But that's just the way it goes. These plants will cycle. They'll do really well. They'll die off, then they'll come right back. And don't mind this. What I've done in the past is I've hung this controller up. It's supposed to sit like this. I just have it sitting over here, and it's connected to a UPS and APC. And that's because if there's a power blip, this thing will shut off and it won't come back online. This is by Vivor. It's an 8 kilowatt diesel heater. I only use this on the coldest of nights, and it's not because this heater up here can't handle it. It's more or less a case of I want to ease the duty cycle on this heater. I want to sort of moderate its use. Right now, for example, it's off and it's really warm in here. it's 22 degrees Celsius, which is optimal. And this fan over here recirculates the air, and it's good. So there's air movement throughout the entire greenhouse. But the point of it is, and obviously I don't leave the hose because this air coming out here can be very hot, upwards of 100 degrees Celsius. So the hose I usually just rest on the ground or I'll hang somewhere. Again, forgive the mess, it's usually not like this, but I said let me just quickly do this video. And there's the exhaust venting over there. That is a ceramic fiber inside of a stove vent. So if I zoom in for you guys, the ceramic fiber, that can handle temperatures upwards of 1500 degrees Celsius. The pipe, the exhaust pipe never gets that hot. The hottest I've seen it is about 400 and something odd degrees Celsius. Still very hot. So that insulates it, and that just vents outside away from the greenhouse, which is what I want. And again, this is steerable, so I can modify this to shoot the air how I want it. Usually I just sort of shoot it towards the door, and it recirculates with the fan. So between this, and this also has this Vevor diesel heater. It's a parking heater. It's meant for camping or RVs, that sort of stuff. You can use it anywhere. I have it on some pieces of wood. They'll go out. Again, excuse the cords. It's not usually a mess like that. I was doing some stuff in here earlier. I got to put everything back. And we have our we have a junction box over here with some stuff. Again, forgive the mess. It's usually not like this. Anyhow, that's the basic setup. The heater down here will run for, oh goodness, this will run for about 20 hours on 5 liters of diesel if I use it at the 2 hertz setting, which is more than enough on its own to keep this warm. In fact, I've got to really moderate it once the diesel heater is running, because if this heater starts kicking in, I can easily push the temperature up here to 30, 35 degrees, which is way too hot. I like to keep it in the day about 22, 23 degrees, and at night I'll bring it down to 17 degrees. And of course we have a recirculation fan down there, and that just, any cool air, that just shoots it up, and it gets kicked behind this heater, and it'll warm up. So that keeps the flow circulating so that there isn't any, you don't have the formation of cold spots in here. And again, this barrel over here has the water in here. This is a 55-gallon drum. This will last me 2.5, 3 weeks. I will fill it up whether there's snow on the ground or not. I'll try and fill it up when the weather's warmer and it's above freezing. Can't always do that, but I haven't had an issue yet. And there's just a submersible pump in here that's on a switch over there. I can also remotely trigger it, and basically that'll just turn on, and then I can use the hose and I can water things, and that's it. So that's the basic setup of the greenhouse. Now, it's not hermetically sealed because you do need air circulation. And I'll show you, for example, there are some gaps here by the door because you need air to come in and go out. It's sort of a bit of an, and again, over here, air will leave. I know it's a bit of an oxymoron. I mean, this cilantro is growing really well. I'll move this back onto a shelf. But see over here, there was a little bit too much moisture, and this leaf is fighting off a minor fungal infection. But otherwise, the ivy and everything else is doing well over here. So I'll just head back out. And that's the nuts and bolts of the greenhouse over here. And it works well. I've obviously cut the 6mm plastic sheet so that it goes around the hinges. And I would have liked to have insulated the door itself, but for obvious reasons, it's, you know, it seems like a simple concept, but it's actually quite complicated. You'll have jamming issues, it won't work. So this is the actual spot where I lose the most heat. And with all these greenhouses, there's plenty of holes. They're not really sealed the way a window in your home would be, where it's a good tight seal. They sort of fit together. So you can't use this greenhouse efficiently. You could, but you'd be running the heater continuously to keep it warm in the winter. So you do need an extra layer of insulation. Of course, the detriment when you use an extra layer of insulation here is that what basically ends up happening is you, well, unfortunately, you begin to cut the amount of light that's going into the greenhouse, so you need to offset that somehow. So I do have some grow lights in here. The geraniums, which you could sort of see through the door, they're fine because they're in the upper part, but anything in the lower part doesn't necessarily like it. Mind you, that's okay for certain plants. Leafy plants are okay with a little bit less light. They don't need full sun. So, well, that's basically it. Again, I like Torx. They don't really strip. The heads are good. So Torx and washers screwed into the base of the wood. and everything was nicely draped over, and I measured it out, and I did it one side at a time, and then I cut the excess, and it's draped over really well, and it's great insulation. It's fantastic. Again, in the day with sunlight, it's great. At night, when you don't have sunlight, you do lose a bit of there's radiative heat loss, but it's not the end of the world. So there's a quick walkthrough of this greenhouse as it is right now, and yeah, so far so good. You can see in the summer. This is a note. This is the 1,000-liter tote that I have over here. This connects to a large pipe over here. I can connect it to a hose, and there's a 1 horsepower pump that I connect. That's all inside a way where it's safe, because I don't want anything to freeze and break in the winter. I actually drained this reel over here, so there's nothing in it. This is a great hose reel, by the way, by Gardena. Great, and this is still on it. Anyhow, that's the breakdown for the greenhouse as it stands. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Oh, and the other thing I did is I adjusted the settings for the vent door over here so that it doesn't really move. Otherwise, if you have it set the way you would in the spring, where it begins to open up at 15 degrees Celsius, obviously this is going to open. We don't want that to happen. We want to maximize our insulation. So I've adjusted the screw set in there so that it doesn't open until about 30 degrees Celsius, which I did actually manage to heat this thing up to over 30 degrees Celsius, and it started to open. There's lots of play, like I can't pull it up, but there's more than enough space here that this will lift with it, so that's okay. It's not a big deal. But again, I did set that so that it remains closed. Once spring rolls around and I can do away with this layer of plastic, I'll take it off, fold it up, put it away for the season, and then we'll readjust this so that it's practical again, and it'll just be a standard greenhouse as it normally is. And that's when we start to get into the seedlings for tomatoes that'll grow outside, pepper plants, all the other things that are going outside. I'll start them early, strawberries, etc. All right, hopefully you found this video useful and entertaining. Oh, one last thing I'll show you guys really quickly is in the back corner here. I actually have a charger and a phone. So there's a cordless phone here. There's a cordless phone there, and there's just for now I keep all the bits for things that I need, temperature gun, watering can, all that stuff over there, some sprays. You can see that stuff's yellowing. I've got to get in there and clean up any dead leaves. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this brief video.